You're sitting on the couch. Your phone is right next to you, screen down. Less than 3 minutes pass, and your hand is already reaching for it. You didn't decide this. You didn't think, let me check my notifications. Your hand just moved. It happened before the thought did. You probably think this is about the apps, about algorithms, about designers in Silicon Valley who made the refresh button addictive on purpose. That's partly true, but the real cause is buried much deeper. It was already sitting inside the human brain tens of thousands of years before anyone invented the word smartphone. Start with a question. Why would an animal ever turn toward a rustle in the bushes? Because the rustle might be wind, or it might be a lion. And an animal that doesn't check every rustle has worse odds of survival than one that does. Nature doesn't punish an unnecessary check. It ruthlessly punishes a missed threat. Psychologists call this an early warning system. It isn't about logic, it's about speed. Your brain assesses a situation in a fraction of a second, long before conscious thought kicks in. You haven't even understood what's happening yet, and your heart is already racing. This is where it gets interesting. Anthropologist Sarah Hrdy, who studied early human communities, pointed out that a prehistoric human survival didn't depend only on food and shelter. It depended on constantly tracking the social landscape. Who's nearby? Who's friendly? Who might be forming an alliance against you? In a group of 1 to 200 people, the typical size of a hunter-gatherer band, status could shift in a single day. Missing that shift meant losing the protection of the tribe. And without a tribe, you didn't last long on the savannah. So your brain evolved for one core task: constantly scan the environment for two things: threat and social information. What changed? Who looked at you? Who stopped talking to you? Who suddenly got warmer than usual? That mechanism didn't switch off when electricity was invented. It didn't switch off when television was invented. And it certainly didn't switch off when a device landed in your pocket that literally simulates both threat and social information at once, 24 hours a day. Psychologist B.F. Skinner, in the mid-20th century, ran an experiment with pigeons that accidentally predicted the future of human behavior. He gave the pigeons food not every time they pressed a lever, but at random. Sometimes right away. Sometimes after 10 presses. Sometimes after 1. What happened? The pigeons didn't stop pressing. In fact, they pressed more often than pigeons that received food on a predictable schedule. Skinner called this variable ratio reinforcement. An unpredictable reward creates a stronger pull than a guaranteed one. Now look at your phone. Every feed refresh is a lever. Sometimes there's nothing interesting. Sometimes there's a message that changes your whole day. You never know in advance which one you'll get. And that's exactly why you can't just stop pulling. But variable reinforcement only explains the mechanics of the pull. It doesn't explain why the phone specifically, not a slot machine, became the center of billions of lives. The answer is the social brain again. Psychologist Robin Dunbar, known for his theory on the cognitive limits of social bonds, showed that the human brain is physically capable of maintaining deep relationships with about 150 people. That number, derived from the ratio between neocortex size and social group size in primates, is known today as Dunbar's number. The problem is, your phone contacts might hold 500, 1,000, 3,000 people. Every one of them could potentially message you, call you, tag you, comment. Your brain, wired for a tribe of 150, literally cannot process that volume of social signals calmly. It treats every possible notification as potentially important information about status, safety, belonging. Missing it feels the same as missing a rustle in the bushes. That's why a phone lying face down still pulls at your attention. Not because you lack willpower, not because you lack discipline, but because the part of your brain responsible for survival genuinely can't tell the difference between a missed notification and a missed threat. There's one more layer that makes this even stronger. Neuroscientist Robert Sapolsky, who studied dopamine mechanisms in primates, showed that dopamine is released not at the moment of getting a reward, but at the moment of anticipating it. A monkey that knows for certain it will get juice after pulling a lever releases less dopamine than a monkey that isn't sure whether it'll get juice at all. In other words, the uncertainty itself, not the reward, but the anticipation of the reward, is what pulls you back to your phone again and again. You don't check your phone because you want to see something specific. You check it because you don't know what you'll see. Think about how many times in the last hour you did this exact motion. Unlocked the screen, looked. Nothing interesting, locked it, and a few minutes later, again. This isn't a character flaw. It's a system that worked flawlessly for 50,000 years, suddenly plugged into a device engineered to exploit it at full capacity, every second, without a break. Now go back to the couch, to the phone lying screen down. Your hand reaches for it again, not because there's anything important there, but because somewhere deep inside you, a hunter-gatherer is still alive, still checking for 200,000 years running, whether anything changed in the bushes, in the group, in the world around them. Today, the bushes just fit inside a device the size of your palm, and it never stops rustling.